It's that time. Welcome to Roadmap, how to take 3 listings a week until you're ready for more. Each week, we interview a great agent who's consistently taking several listings each month, and we have an exciting guest today. We encourage you to take notes and apply as much of the knowledge as quickly as you can, and then use the copycat principle. If you're watching on Vulcan 7 or the Lead Gen Facebook group, we welcome you. And let me introduce my co-host from San Diego, Carly Hathaway. That's carlyhathaway.com. Hi, Carly. How's the real estate business?
Hey, Ren. Hey, everybody. Real estate is great. Really good time to be a listing agent.
Great. Things going well in San Diego?
Of course. Couldn't be better.
Good.
Yeah.
Before I introduce our guest today, as I started to say, I want to remind everybody we're simulcasting the show on the private Lead Gen Facebook group. They have 51,000 members, I think 52,000 now. So we have a large audience there today as well. And we'll be pausing for a commercial message during the show as a thank you to the Lead Gen folks. Let's welcome our guest today from beautiful Southern Florida, from Miami all the way up to Jupiter and everything in between, in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Mr. Kevin Mejia. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. How long have you been in real estate?
So I've been in real estate 3 years, coming March of 2020.
Okay, so not super long.
No, not at all.
Okay, and how's it going so far?
It's going fantastic. I mean, I haven't tried to reinvent the wheel from day one. I've just been following the process, following the steps, and everything else just comes into place right after that.
Great. What's that looking like? What does that look like? What's your goal for this year? And we're almost at the end of it.
Absolutely. So my goal for this year was to do 50 units. I usually focus on how many units I'm going to do for the year. And right now we're on track to close 51.
51. Great. Sounds
awesome.
Like
good for you.
Yes.
So because we're near the end of the year, what's the goal for next year?
The goal for next year would be to bump that up to 70. At
70.
least.
Okay.
Yes.
So roughly taking, 6-7 listings every month.
Yep.
It sounds like you may be getting near that point now. Although I don't know what that looks like in Florida in December.
My average, right now my average is about 5 listings a month.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And they just all call you, right?
I wish. It's not gotten to that point just yet. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Well,
so,
as the database grows.
Yeah.
So good.
So what's your main source of business? Like, how are you getting these listings?
Sure. So when I first got started, year 1, I plugged into Vulcan and I just started calling expireds. It was incredibly tough at first because you deal with a lot of rejection, a lot of insults, and it really kills you on the inside. However, once I started focusing on my scripts primarily, I started, taking a couple listings here and there.
Okay. And what scripts do you use?
So when I first got started, if I'm not mistaken, I started using Tom Ferry's and Mike Ferry's scripts. And, I would just try each, and whichever one felt more like me and whichever one got me the results I wanted, I just started sticking to it.
Okay. That makes sense. And so when you first got started, you mentioned that, there was like a lot of rejection and it hurt inside. How did you overcome that? Because that's tough.
It is. You have to, it all starts in the mind, right? They say success in business is 90% mindset. So it all starts as to whether or not you're going to believe what those people are saying. So what I have in front of my computer, or when I wake up in the morning, I have affirmations, right? I read my affirmations out loud. I have about 20 to 30 of them. And that helps me realize what the truth is. The truth isn't that I suck or that I should quit real estate. The truth is that I'm great at what I do and that I will be the best listing agent in my local area.
Yeah. I think that's huge because you're right. It is mindset and you have to, keep reminding yourself.
Absolutely. Whenever I get insults, whatever it is, there's a quote I have in my head, which is, some do, some don't. So what? move on, right?
Love that.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, definitely. Because it is always the next one. You know, you just got to
Absolutely.
get to it.
Every no is just that step closer to that yes.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's how I approach the day. I don't approach, am I going to take a listing or not? I don't want to deal with, rude people on the other side of the line. It's just like, all right, how many people am I going to have to speak today? How many people am I going to have to speak to today in order to achieve my goal?
Yeah, that makes sense. And so when you first started, you're learning the scripts, you're trying to figure it out. How long did it take you to get consistently good at this?
So
like getting listing appointments every day.
So when I first got started, my whole first 12 months in the business, I know some people don't want to hear this, but it's the absolute truth. I worked 7 days a week, 12-hour days for the first full year. And I mean, it wasn't easy, but I stuck to a schedule. That's the thing. Without a schedule, if you don't have a schedule and you don't stick to it, it's incredibly hard to be consistent, right? So I felt like that helped me. The ability that I did it every single day and the fact that I followed a schedule, by the second month, it was just habitual.
Right.
And then when you slowed down to 5 days a week or 6 days a week.
Now it took me about a year and a half later. I have a coach, and my coach always used to tell me, Kevin, you're going to burn out. You're going to crash. I know this is incredibly important to you, but you're going to burn out if you keep doing this. And, I'm 22 at the time. So in my mind, I have all the energy in the world. And so, after about a year and a half, I had a burnout. It was really tough because I started questioning whether this is for me or not. And what I did is I started taking every Sunday off. And then a year later, which is this year that I stepped into, I started doing my weekends off. If I have to do a little bit on the weekends, I'll do it if I have to, but I make sure I don't put anything for those 2 days just to keep my sanity.
If you're primarily a listing agent, which it sounds like you are.
Yes.
You're working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, listing property so that Saturday and Sunday nights and weekends, the agents who love buyers know your listings. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the game plan.
Love that. Good.
So you mentioned that what really helped you was your routine. So can you walk us through, your morning routine? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I, my first year, right, because it's totally different now, but my first year, I would wake up at 5. From 5 to 5:30, I would do my affirmations, prayer, meditation, whatever works best for the individual, right? For me, it was affirmations and prayer. Then from 5:30 to 7, I was at the gym, right? Jogging, lifting weights, just because it helped me put my mind right. And it felt like I took control of my day instantly. And I did all the difficult stuff instantly. So after 7 o'clock and as the day progressed, in reality, the day got easier as it went along. And so from 7 to 8, I would eat breakfast, script practice. My first year, I used to script practice heavily with my best friend, who is also in the industry. And after script practice from 8 to 12, lead generating, calling everyone I knew, everyone that I'd come in contact with, my family, my friends, people in my Facebook, every single day until I got my first listing, 8 to 12.
That's a lot. How long did it take you to be able to build the stamina to do it for that long a period of time?
Well, the stamina was already built within me. The reason is because I moved from New Orleans, Louisiana, right? And I moved here with, say, $30,000 in my pocket. And it was a do or die situation, which was, all right, I either make it in real estate or I try my best. I go broke and I go back home to New Orleans.
So you burned the boats, huh?
Yep, that's exactly what I did. So it's almost like I left my mind with no other option but to survive. And so that alone just gave me this. It didn't feel like, to me at that time, it wasn't incredibly hard. It's just I had nothing else to do but that.
Yeah.
When you think about it, and there's so many people out there, they're not doing that many transactions, but they spend a lot of time working on their 1 or 2 pendings when really they've got 6 hours a day that they could lead generate. It's just
absolutely,
lead generation is not quite that gratifying, but it sure pays well.
It's literally, it's the 80-20 rule, right? It's the 20% that produces the 80% of everything else.
That's it.
I don't worry about, like I said, I don't worry about the listings or my pending deals. I start my day thinking, all right, how many people do I got to speak to today? If it takes me 3 hours, if it takes me 2, if it takes me 6, however long it takes me, but that's my priority.
Yeah. And how many people is your goal to speak to a day?
At bare minimum, 20.
That's great.
Okay. And you pass that minimum, I assume.
Yes, whenever I use a dialer, like with Vulcan, I can exceed that no problem. But if I'm hand dialing, which sometimes I do, it could take me 3 to 4 hours to get to 20.
Gotcha. Just.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm sure you have days now, even though you're in a regular routine, you've been doing it for 3 years. I'm sure you have days you wake up and you're kind of like, oh, I just want to stay in bed, or like, I'm not in the mood today. How do you get over that hump?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So honestly, that only happens to me when I'm not taking time off. When I'm not taking time off and I'm working every day, I get mornings like that where it's like, damn, I don't feel like doing anything today. This really sucks. And I'll be honest with you, I listen to myself and I'll just sleep in an extra 30 minutes, an extra 60 minutes. But as soon as I wake up, whether it's 8 or 9, whatever the case is, first thing I do is I pick up the phone and start making calls. So if I start making calls at 9 or 10, that means I'm making calls till 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Kevin, to be fair, most people don't carry that mindset like that. Most
Really?
people have an I don't wanna voice that's a lot louder than yours. So you're in coaching, so that keeps you on track.
Absolutely.
What say you to people that have a loud I don't wanna voice? And you're doing affirmations,
Right.
you've got coaching, those things cause people to do things way more than they normally would. Anything else they should be doing?
That's a great question.
Because it doesn't apply to you, maybe you don't have the answer because you're rather a hunter mentality.
So what I've learned, and I'm trying to, you let me know if this answers your question. So what I've learned is that whenever I'm not learning, whenever I'm not constantly pursuing, I guess, new knowledge, whenever I'm not learning from my mistakes, whenever I'm not trying to gain wisdom from the mentors and the people above me, that's when I start having what I call it's a self-suicide mentality, because I no longer want to pursue anything. I no longer want to work. And it's uphill battle from there. But what I'm realized is that if every morning I learn something new, or I learn from a mistake of something that I had no idea would happen in a transaction, or I'm constantly keeping my mind absorbing new information, it's as if, I don't know, it just pushes me to want to keep moving forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like just constantly always gaining knowledge helps you keep driving, keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I'm not gaining knowledge, I'm going backward, or I'm becoming stale. And that's a fear to me.
People need some sort of routine
Absolutely.
in the morning around learning something new, putting some good things in.
Absolutely. Everything that comes in.
You do it instinctively, but not everybody does.
Yeah, and that's something that I guess that's true. That's something I usually don't think about. But yeah, and I guess that's my personality. But I've come to learn that if you're not learning anything new, and you're not at least challenging yourself, you're staying stale, or you're going backwards. And at that point, well, are you really growing in anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your listing presentation look like?
What do you mean exactly? Like time?
In other words, do you do it all at once? Do you do it in a 2-step? Do you send them something in advance, or do you just load it all on them when you get there and do a 2-hour marathon, or is
right.
Or is it in little doses?
That's a great question. That's something that I always, like, I never knew how to approach it, because you hear so many different things from so many different people. Like, you got to send something before you meet with them, or you have to have a 2-part listing presentation, like you said. But what I've learned is that if you speak with them enough times before the listing presentation, and you pre-qualify them thoroughly before the listing presentation, what I do is, once I've had all those conversations, I just prepare my CMA, my comps, and I meet with them, and I take the listing that same day. I don't send them
Nice.
anything beforehand. I don't send them everything via email. I don't tell them, hey, I'll meet you again. No, I will not leave that kitchen table until you sign the contract. And that's just who I am. And I try to stay within a 40-minute time frame.
Nice.
I don't go outside of that.
Nice. And so yeah, that's with signing paperwork. So that's great. So pre-qualifying heavily. Let's say
Absolutely.
you've known them for 20 years. Well, you're maybe not old enough to know.
Yeah. I'm 24.
You've known them for a while.
Yeah.
Would you pre-qualify them heavily?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I feel like at that
You
point,
just assume they're going to go with you.
I know they're going to go with me without a doubt. It's just how I really try to study their motivation.
Okay.
Do they really want it? What's the whole purpose as to why they're moving? Is it important? Because like I explained to all the sellers that I meet with, I don't take listings just to take them. Because at the end of the day, I don't get paid until they sell. So
Well, what if the motivation is low, but they're willing to go with your price?
if the motivation is low and they're willing to list on my price, I just make sure I set the expectations.
Okay.
Hey, listen, if I do bring you a buyer within the next 2 weeks, will you be ready to accept this offer? Yes or no. If they tell me no, then what's the point of taking the
What's the
listing?
point? No, I get you. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a relationship between price and motivation is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And how do you handle it when they try to have you cut your commissions?
So you really got to know your scripts, and you really got to know how to provide value. I've learned that commission objections only come up if you haven't provided enough value upfront or at the listing presentation, and if you're not managing all of their objections properly. But if you're answering all the questions that they have in their mind before they come up, and you're presenting value, commission never comes up. But if it does, if it for some reason it does, I know that I put it all on my broker, right?
Okay.
I'm not in control of my commission. The standard is 6%. That's what every seller pays in this market. So I take the pressure off of me.
Good.
That's smart.
Right. Yeah. I like that. Good. Now you're accumulating some past clients as you build this business. Past
Yes.
clients. What is your method of continuing to get business from that group as it gets bigger over the years?
Sure. So I didn't start focusing on that until about this year. Okay. Personally, because I was afraid to contact.
There's nobody there then.
I was afraid to contact some of the people that I first dealt with because, truth be told, if you've never done real estate, and in my case, I sold 17 homes my first year, you committed a lot of mistakes, without a doubt. It's quick, it's fast-paced, so it's quick decision-making, and if you're not well prepared, you're going to give the wrong advice. So at first, I was very hesitant to do it, but what I learned is that if you call them 4 times a year, and you don't have to ask them for business, just know that you're still there and you still care about them, they'll send you business. For example, I'll call them just to see how the move-in was, or if they need someone if they want to update anything in the house, do they need a recommendation, right? Or I remind them of their homestead, right, in Florida, so they can get a tax exemption. Mm-hmm. You're just there providing value. You're not asking, hey, how's the house? Do you know anybody else that wants to buy or sell? If you did a good job and you stay in front of them and you're providing value, the referrals will come naturally.
Yeah. Good. So you just bring value back to them, and then automatically they're going to want to send people back to you.
Yeah. Good. Reciprocity. Yeah.
There you go. The rule of reciprocity.
Yeah. So when you're calling them, you're just kind of trying to stay in their mind and remind them that you are alive and you exist.
Absolutely. And to me, that's considered a contact. That's a much easier conversation.
It's a great
Absolutely. It's easy conversation. They know you. You don't got to fight your way into the conversation, and you don't have to put on a show. You just be yourself.
It's a beautiful thing. And one day, fast forward, and we see this so much, 10, 12, 15 years, that's becomes a large bulk of your business.
Absolutely. That's where most of your time is spent.
Yeah. A larger portion than now, because you can do it in a few days now.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it's building fast, and you're doing it well.
It is.
Fantastic. This has been really, really helpful.
Awesome.
I'm thrilled we could chat with you about this. And
yeah, I think we got some really good stuff. And it's really fun that we got to interview you, because only being in the business for 3 years kind of gives the rest of us hope,
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Like I said, you don't have to reinvent anything. Just follow what the people that have already done what you're looking to do, have them whisper in your ear, and just, don't question it. That's one thing my coach, because there's a lot of people that approach him, because the way I got connected with him was by accident. He saw that I was struggling taking my first listing, and he asked me, he said, well, you should get a coach. And I told him, why? I don't need anyone to tell me I got to wake up early. I don't need anyone telling me I got to have the right mindset. I don't need anyone telling me I got to make calls. I know I have to do that. So why am I going to pay someone to do it? And he laughed. And he's like, it's funny you think that's all a coach is. And so he said, listen, I'll offer to coach you if you do what I say. And then, of course, after coaching with him, I started realizing that it's primarily about your scripts. It's about what you say, how you say it, and how many people can you say it to. You do that, and everything else falls into place. And I asked him, I'm surprised you took me from selling, 15 homes a year to 50. I'm surprised you don't have people you're not coaching a lot of people. He told me, he said, the reason is because I coach people, but they all question what I say. They don't trust that what I'm telling them is right. And what I tell them to do, they don't do. So of course they struggle. And of course coaching isn't open for them, or it doesn't work for them. So it's about just having an open mind and just being a student.
And obviously you're very coachable, which makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Just be a good student.
You've been on both sides of this. When you started, you were kind of winging it, and then you started working with a very canned scripted presentation.
Yes.
There are people that are like, well, I have my own style and
Right.
I like to wing it, which
Right.
is winging it usually.
Yeah.
Usually saying whatever erupts in their thought pattern.
Right.
What say you? It's why is a planned script like a surgeon uses, like a pilot uses? Why is
Absolutely.
a script so important?
Absolutely. Well, to me, it's so that I can focus more on what the seller is saying. Because if you're going in there winging it and you really don't know what you're going to say, as the seller's talking, you're constantly focused on how you're going to reply.
Yeah.
You're not really paying attention to the seller's needs. However, if you memorize your script and you at least have a guideline of what to present first and what to expect and how to close, you can actually focus all of your attention on the seller.
Yeah. It's
And
a beautiful
when-
thing.
and
they're
when you
happier.
Absolutely.
They're much happier.
They feel like you care. And
Yeah.
ultimately, that's what they want. They want someone who cares.
They
Yeah.
can feel the fact that you're focused on them and not thinking about what you're going to say next. Yeah, they can
Absolutely.
feel that.
Absolutely. Because, if you're not practicing, then you're really, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, you're practicing on them.
Yeah.
And
Right.
practicing on them is costing you, and where we live, 10 grand.
Yeah. So, folks, there are many people watching that in the next few months are going to have somebody that needs to buy or sell a home in Southern Florida, somewhere from Miami all the way up to West Palm, maybe even Jupiter, all the way up, somewhere along the way. What's the best way, Kevin Mejia, for them to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have an assistant, and the best way to reach out to me would be to call her directly. Her name is Allie, who's also my sister. She joined me 2 years ago full time.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, so her number is 985-249-9919. And if there's no answer, you guys are more than welcome to text or leave a voicemail, because we check every single one before the end of the day.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Great. Thanks so much, Kevin. Folks, if you're watching on Vulcan 7, you want to get involved with the Lead Gen Facebook group that's simulcasting this show. They are at facebook.com/groups/got-objections. And I want to thank Aaron Wittenstein, who runs the group. And finally, if you're watching on Facebook and you're not yet involved with Vulcan 7, make sure to sign up at vulcan7.com/lead gen for a special deal. And then I was getting a couple texts while the show is going on asking, what is Kevin's real secret? And I have it here. Kevin, after he makes 4 hours worth of calls, sets 3 appointments, and two for the same day, what he does is he goes and he gets some delicious Grater's mint chocolate chip. This is the one for listings. The Grater's mint chocolate chip is for listings. Rocky Road obviously is for buyers, but the mint chocolate chip, if the listing is slow to sell, because you're right, dig a hole in the ground and bury it upside down, and that listing will sell just like that.
That's funny.
Yes. I want to thank everybody for being here. Yes. And that is the secret. That's what we have a lot of people that buy that, and their listing business has just gone through the roof.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I think we all learned a lot today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Cool.
Bye-bye.